mga kaibigan, welcome to In My Toolbox, a weekly talk show for your personal finance only here at PHLV. Mga kaibigan, the goal of this show is to give you financial information or business information that you may be able to use on your day-to-day financial decisions or what have you, right? So we will, of course, unbox topics that hopefully will be able to guide you, aid you, and maybe even add to your financial tools or your business tools. Okay, so we will tackle important information mostly not taught in school. Of course, we know that's going to be much needed to empower you financially or give you an education about businesses. As usual, in any idea that will transpire in the show, mga kaibigan, of course, always consult with your financial advisor, insurance professionals, tax consultants, etc., etc., right? My name again is Enrico Pobre, mga kaibigan. I'm your host here at In My Toolbox. Magandang gabi ulit, mga kaibigan. And of course, if you would want to get in touch with me, well, the easiest way is Google my name, Enrico Pobre. I bet you won't miss me, guys. All right. Otherwise, you email me at enrico.inmytoolbox@gmail.com. Hear ye, mga kaibigan. We're going to be talking about business naman ngayong gabing ito. And in particular, this is actually very timely. Although it has been going on for a couple of years now, we're still going to be talking about, in this show, about the Employee Retention Tax Credit. Yan naman. So if you're a business owner, you would want to listen to this one. If you've heard about this one before and did not act upon it or act on it, well, this is actually a legitimate grant or tax credit coming from the IRS. So we'll get, information coming from the IRS website at the moment. So, we're going to be, we're going to be guided accordingly talking about it. Well, the Employee Retention Tax Credit, mga kaibigan, if you have not availed of that and you are a business owner, it's sometimes called Employee Retention Credit. Well, what is it about? Well, it's a refundable tax credit. And this is only for businesses and tax-exempt organizations that had employees that were affected during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, again, this employee retention credit or tax credit is intended for business owners. Kaya nga I started hear ye. All right. So the employee retention tax credit, or we're going to call it ERC or ERTC. There are actually requirements, and it's it varies as well depending on the time period for which the business owner or you have claimed the credit. So I just want to make sure that you understand, guys, ERC or ERTC is not available for individuals, not available to individuals, okay? So, very simple, guys. All you have to do is go to the IRS website and, just ask for or look for, details about employee retention tax credit, okay? But before I move forward, I want to make sure, guys, beware of this ERTC or ERC scam promotions, okay? So I just want to make sure employers, business owners, you should be, beware of this ERC advertisements out there that, that advises you to apply for money by claiming ERC when they may not be able to qualify. Okay, as a reminder, I just want to make sure that I started with this way, right? So, as a reminder, anyone who improperly claimed the credits has to pay it back and may owe penalties and interest to the IRS, of course. The only way to claim the ERC is through a federal employment tax return. Okay, so you will hear a lot of these ads all over the radio, TV, social media, and you may even get ads that look like official government letters or texts, emails, phone calls, and then these people are just advertising ERC eligibility. Okay, so I just want to make sure that, I start this conversation like that. And the warning signs, of course, there is a very aggressive ERTC, ERC marketing. Sometimes it's if they're pushing too much, that's already a warning sign. So ERTC, guys, is not simple. It's actually a very complex credit that requires a very rigid way of reviewing it, a careful way of reviewing it before applying it. So you have to watch out for this one, guys. So you would see a lot of unsolicited ads, calls, emails, or texts definitely from someone that you do not know, right? So, and then there are statements that the promoter or company can determine your ERC eligibility within minutes. That's actually a red flag. It doesn't happen that fast. There's actually a large upfront fees to claim the credit. That's another thing that you have to watch out for. This is actually a fee based on the percentage of the refund amount of ERC that actually is being claimed. So you should always avoid a tax preparer, if I may use that, basing their fee on the amount of the refund. So you have to look at that. Statements, of course, from the promoter that you qualify for credit before any discussion about your tax situation. So how would they know that, right? So those are the things that you want to watch out for. And there are some statements from the promoter urging you to submit the claim because there's nothing to lose. So in reality, those improperly receiving the credit could have to repay the credit along with substantial interest and penalties. So guys, you just have to make sure that you make your due diligence before engaging yourself to ERC. But as Ira said, this is a legitimate government grant. Okay? So there are what you call eligibility highlights. The credit, is available to eligible employers that paid qualified wages. Again, the eligibility, it actually highlights if you're a business owner, you could be eligible for this tax refund when you actually had paid qualified wages to some or all employers. And this is the date, from March 12, 2020 and before January 1, 2022. The dates are March 12, 2020 and before January 1, 2022. So eligibility and credit amount, it actually vary depending on when the business impact occurred. So it's not because you had those business, there are some eligibility that you have to go through. Yes, you operated maybe on that time, but there are some questions or eligibility that you have to go through to see if you actually qualified for this refund. Again, the ERC, mga kaibigan, I just want to make sure and reiterate it, that it's not available to individuals. So generally, mga kaibigan, business and businesses and tax exempt companies or organization, could actually qualify if, look at this, they were shut down by a government order due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we heard that there was really a government intervention during those times that businesses should shut down. So if you are a business owner that was affected during that time, again, I gave you the time frame a while ago. This was the 2020 or the first 3 calendars of 2021. You could qualify for this government grant. Now, experience, of course. Another thing is experience, of course, the required decline in the gross receipts during the eligibility periods during 2020 or the first 3 calendars of 2021. So another eligibility on this one highlights is, qualified, the business qualified as a recovery startup business for the 3rd or 4th quarter 2021. So if you have a business that just started during that time frame, you could qualify too, even as a startup. Wow. So you might want to look at these dates, mga kaibigan, for more information, just go to, I would suggest you go to the irisgovernment.gov website and look at this eligibility highlights for ERC. I think you will not go wrong and you're going to be guided accordingly. So eligible employers must have qualified wages to be able to claim credit. So, if you actually have a business, but you didn't have any, what do you call this, employees, definitely, there's nothing to be qualified for a refund, right? So, and eligible employers can claim the ERC on an original or adjusted employment tax return. Of course, you have, what do you mean? You have to have filed that tax return for a period within those dates that I actually have told you a while ago. So there are actually certain limitations too. Certain limitations apply to this grant. For example, employers cannot claim the ERC on wages that were reported as payroll cost for PPP. So remember the Paycheck Protection Program loan? So there is what you call a Paycheck Protection Program loan forgiveness. So you cannot claim ERC on wages that were actually reported as payroll costs for that PPP loan forgiveness. Okay? Another limitation. Qualified wages for purposes of the ERC do not include payroll costs in connection with shuttered venue operators grants or restaurant revitalization grants. So, ito yung kanyang limitation for ERC. But for me, guys, if you're not so sure if you're going to be qualified or not, so you would want to talk to an ERC expert or somebody that actually know how tax credit works, that's also an expert. Or, so there are great websites out there that could actually explain to you exactly how this ERC works. What I just need you guys to understand is you just have to do your due diligence to understand how this refund works. And if you do it correctly, I'm telling you, you're going to be able to get those refunds. Okay? So, again, mga kaibigan, I would want to highlight the requirements, okay, of the employee retention eligibility checklist. And I know, and I mentioned a while ago, this is a complex credit process that you need to understand. So there's actually three parts that I would want to explain to you, the part A, B, and C. So the first thing that you need to do, of course, you check your eligibility. The second part is part B. Now you claim the ERC if you found out that you're eligible. And number three, or part C, you resolve an improper ERC claim. Okay, again, this is a very complex tax credit for business owners and tax-exempt organization. So the IRS actually continues to see, all of this aggressive marketing that sometimes, it lures ineligible taxpayers to claim the ERC. That's actually scary. Well, look at this, guys. The credit is real, It's just that many promoters are aggressively misrepresenting who can actually qualify for the credit. Well, again, this is business, right? So sometimes they just overly tell the story about how to get these refunds, and people or business owners are lured towards that, and they fall into those traps, right? In many instances, IRS is seeing businesses and organizations again being misled by such promoters into thinking that they're eligible when they actually are not. Okay, so again, anyone who improperly claims the ERC, again guys, be careful, will or must pay it back. And what's so scary about that, they're gonna go right after you, not only the principal or the money that you actually got from the IRS, with penalties and interest as well. Now, again, I want to make sure to be able to help you, business owners and other tax-exempt organizations, just make sure that first you have to check your eligibility. And the eligibility is just, quick questions if you are actually eligible. And this is a very technical area of the law, but this checklist or eligibility questions includes the main factors to see and know if you're actually able to get that refund. So answer these questions I'm going to ask you, in order, and you'll be able to see if you actually would be able to qualify. Okay, so question number one, you have to ask yourself, Did you have employees and then you actually paid wages to them between March 13, 2020 and December 31, 2021? So that's the first question. Okay? So if you did, well, you know that you're going to be eligible. Okay? Number two, if that's yes, the second question is, during that time, were you a self-employed individual who didn't have employees? Or are you a household employer? Well, if your answer is yes, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be ineligible. Ineligible. You cannot apply. Okay, let's repeat that question again, okay? The first eligibility question. Did you have employees and pay wages between March 13, 2020 and December 31, 2021? If the answer is yes, you have to ask the second question. During those times, the time frame I gave you, were you a self-employed individual who did not have employees or a household employer? So if the answer is yes, you are ineligible. Let's go back to question number one. Did you have employees and pay wages to them between those dates? If the answer is no, you know you are not eligible to claim ERC. But if you push through with that, you are improperly claiming ERC, now you will be able to withdraw your amended returns, tax returns, that includes your ERC claim, as long as your claim has not been processed. Because sometimes you push it so hard and it will be processed, and it's too late before you know it that you are actually not eligible. And then you have to do some resolution right that, right there and there. You have to retract that application. And again, you only know that it was pushed through if your claim has not been processed and paid. So you have to request a withdrawal. It means that you would be asking the IRS not to process your entire amendment return, which actually included your ERC claim. So that's a lot of work, guys. Just tax preparation itself. It's gonna be hard. You know that, guys, right? If you have been paying taxes all this, all forever, right? You know how hard it is. But can you imagine retracting, fixing, resolving all of these tax, oh my God, processes? It's gonna be a nightmare, and you don't want to go through that process. Okay? So, well, if you are doing that anyway, you're doing this resolution, the IRS will provide details on how to withdraw that ERC claim. They will help you anyway. Well, I hope, you could call them fast, right? So, and then the IRS is working on settlement initiative for taxpayers who believe they should have not claimed the ERC and wanting to repay it if ever they actually got that refund. Now, if you need if you need help, again, guys, you would want to, of course, go to the IRS themselves, or you can actually look for these people who has this track records already of fixing all of this ERC tax refund. Mga kaibigan, just to give you an overview, there are a lot of business owners there that could potentially, qualify for tax refund. And I may give you, this is not on the website right now of the IRS, but I can actually give you some stories out there how tax credit ERC has been, has been helping businesses out there. Okay, so there are different laws attached to the CARES Act that put this ERC program all together. Some companies, requirements out there who's going to be helping you for your tax refund. The requirement is 10 W-2 full-time employees and above. Some companies out there, 5 full-time W-2 employees above, or some companies are even looking at 2 employees and W-2 permanent full-time employees and above. Okay? And the other thing that you would want to consider too, make sure that the owner or you, right, you are the owner, is not part of those W-2s that's within that company. You're not counted as part of it. Okay, so these are W-2s, full-time, not related to you, or it's not you if you're the owner of the business. So these are some eligibility part of the eligibility checklist, right? Now, there are companies here that will tell us that they could qualify up to $26,000 per employee. Let me ask you this. Let me just tell you this, guys. This monies actually that these business owners will actually be getting as a refund, it doesn't go to the employees, guys, right? I just want to make sure that you understand that. Okay? So it goes, of course, to the business owners because they were actually the one covering for all of these expenses during those pandemic times when business is actually not thriving or not operating at all. That's the reason why we have these grants out there called ERC. And another requirement that you would want to see, guys, is make sure that you have this properly, these proper documents like your 941s, okay, that they are being properly filed. So these are the 941s, of course, these are your regular business owners. For agricultural employers, the Form 943X is required. Or for employers that may file annually, again, that's the Form 944X. All of these, guys, you can actually check this out in the IRS website. Mga kaibigan, if you are a business owner that actually operated during those times, like restaurants, right? A lot of us there are care homes or in the healthcare industry, or all of these are just examples of the companies that could actually apply and see the eligibility. Well, if you are actually eligible, all right? So mga kaibigan, that's all about our employee retention tax credit. If you have 10 W-2 full-time employees and you can get a refund of up to $26,000 per employee, well, that's a potential $260,000, right? That you can actually have a refund from the government. Of course, the word there is up to, the catchphrase is up to $26,000. It doesn't guarantee you to get that $26,000. So all you have to do, again, is check your eligibility, get those documents in order, submit it to an accountant or whoever is a good tax preparer or tax credit preparers. They'll be able to help you and identify how much you can actually get a refund. Mga kaibigan, again, if this is a question of if this is actually real, yes, it is actually real. You just have to make sure that you are dealing with the right company that can actually help you get all of this refund. Mga kaibigan, I think that's all for our employee retention tax credit for this episode. Watch out for our next episode next week. We're going to be talking about what do you call this? The newest of the newest, right? Hear ye again. You call it an SETC. What does it mean? Guys, we're going to talk about the newly, tax credit available for self-employed. Self-employed are people who are receiving 1099s. It can be an insurance agent. It can be a realtor, anybody, the sole proprietor, etc. Until next week, guys, we'll talk again about tax credit from the government that your business or you as a 1099 will be able to get a refund. Again, my name is Enrico Pobre. You're listening to In My Toolbox, signing off.